Welcome back to Mad for Plus Magic, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I've got kind of a shenanigan-y deck for you, and it's roughly $160, depending on the versions of cards you have. Yeah, and here is my deck featuring Medomai the Ageless in the deck I call Medomai the Multiple.
Medomai the Ageless is one of those commanders you kind of just want to work well, and I think I've got a pretty decent deck to prove it. This is one of my first commander decks I ever built, and I've been working on improving it for the better part of 3 years. I finally come up with a deck that I enjoy playing and that my playgroup knows well. What do it do? Medomai takes extra turns, as you can see here. I have not made this a Narset Degenerate extra turns deck, but a mid-game deck that is just lots of fun. What you'll do is attack, clone, and multiply Medomai until you overwhelm your opponents with numbers or commander damage. Like I say, it's a little bit slower of a deck. It doesn't have a turn 1 to 10 win, but it will be fun protecting yourself in order to gain those extra turns. Alright, how are we going to get Medomai out as fast as possible? Well, we got some ramp. We have Soul Ring, a must-need for these kind of decks in blue and white, especially when you have 4 generic mana for your commander. Next, we have Mox Tandalite and Arcane Signet. These 2 rocks tap for any color and are very cheap for what they do, but you'll have to wait for Mox Tandalite for a few turns, but, it doesn't cost anything. Marble Diamond and Sky Diamond, more rocks each tapping for a white or blue, and while they enter tapped, getting a guaranteed color from a rock that's cheap isn't bad, especially in Azorius. Traveler's Amulet, Pilgrim's Eye, and Solemn Simulacrum, all of them search for a land upon entry, and Sad Robot draws you a card when it dies. Burnished Heart, this has been a staple in a lot of decks for many years, and in non-ramping colors, this one is very valuable if you can crack it and get those 2 basics into play. Plus, it's from Theros, and I'd say there's a lot of stuff in Theros in this deck. Land Tax. Oh boy, the money of the deck. Land Tax is probably the best white ramp of all time. Searching for 3 basics if an opponent controls more land than you. They only go to your hand, but having 3 extra mana when you need it is super handy. Duplicate. Now let's butter our toast. Our toast being Medomai, although you probably wouldn't want to toast or butter him. Anyway, we're going to copy the crap out of him. But Manfred, how do we copy a legendary creature, it being legendary and all? Don't worry, my wee little audience, I'll show you. Alright, first we got Spark Double. It copies a creature or planeswalker you control and makes it non-legendary. Ta-da! Your very own Medomai, the not legendary Ageless copy, and it adds a counter to itself. Sakashima of 1,000 Faces, similar to Spark Double, but he straight up just takes the legend rule out of your side of town. Make all the Go Ram copies you want. Helm of the Host. Boy, this one can get scary. Basically, Spark Double without the 1/1 counters, and you do it on each of your combats. So the trick is to build up enough Medomais to swing at each opponent and take that many extra turns afterwards. Medomais can't attack on extra turns, but it won't matter if you have 5 turns in a row and you make 5 new Medomais the next time around the table. Whew. Sakashima's Will. Did I mention copies? If you've Spark Doubled Medomai or something of the sort, cast this and make all your creatures non-legendary copies of Medomai. Super duper fun for opponents. Guarantees. Aqueous Form, Aether Tunnel, and Tricks of the Trade. They all make our commander unblockable and add some sort of little bonus in order to, add a little flair. Then we have Battle Mastery. Upon hitting a Battle Mastered Medomai will then give you 2 extra turns after this one. First strike damage and regular strike damage. Huzzah! Protect Myself. Lightning Greaves. This one is just incredible. It's very much a staple in a ton of commander decks. And it keeps our commander safe. Greaves does a swell job, and it lets you swing with Medomai at the moment you get him out. Sheltering Light and Curtain of Light. There's a lot of light spells in this deck, I've realized. But Sheltering Light can grant indestructible, protecting your commander, and a Curtain of Light blocks a creature in case you need a few extra turns. See what I did there? Extra turns? Okay. Propaganda, Baird, Steward of Argive, Norn's Annex, and Blazing Archon. You gotta either pay to attack me, or if it's super late game, Blazing Archon just sucks for opponents that only have creatures, and I'll leave that there. And if you just want to straight up vanish from the game, Teferi's Protection. Plus, this is some of my favorite art of all time on this card, because it reminds me of my own daughter. If you want the ultimate protection, here it is. Just sit back, relax, and watch your opponents kill each other. Extra turns. If Medomai isn't working too well in the moment, or your opponents have bigger flyers than yours, here are some extra spells to give you those coveted extra turns. Magistrate's Scepter. This one is expensive to pull off, but once you do, hey, look at that, an extra turn. Time Stream Navigator. She can also take a long time to bring online, but once you have the City's Blessing, you'll be taking an extra turn for sure. Karn's Temporal Sundering and Part the Waterveil. These two just straight up give you an extra turn. And Part the Waterveil also awakens a land if you're in a pinch, but I've never used that part of a spell. Backup. I realize there aren't many creatures in this deck, but here are a few I do have. They are Medomai's backup just in case. It's basically the A-team of Azorius. Fogbank and a Nyambi Faithful Healer. Fogbank is the best blocker ever. You can't kill with it, but it also can't be damaged, so it just kind of sits there. And Nyambi Faithful Healer literally just searches for a Teferi Planeswalker, and I'll show you him later. Azorius Guildmage, Daxus of Meletis, and Asperia Supreme Judge. Azorius Guildmage, I added her to have some extra utility, tapping down creatures to clear a path for Medomai, or countering an activated ability if needed. If you're feeling a bit annoying and peachy, have Daxus deal some damage to an opponent. And now you can cast your stuff from them, and it benefits you, and they will love it. And Asperia Supreme Judge is just a big flyer, and she draws us cards when we're attacked. And last but not least, the best card in the entire deck, Sigiled Starfish. The powerhouse of the deck. And I say that because I've copied this creature far more times than I should have. And I'll show you how in a minute. Also, he taps to scry one. But my play group has come to just absolutely adore the Starfish. And I say that in the most sarcastic voice I can. Counters. Blue Elemental Blast, Hindering Light, and Absorb. Just some counter spells to bug opponents and protect yourself. Blue Elemental Blast counters only red spells or just destroys a red permanent, and for 1 blue mana, jeepers. Hindering Light only counters a spell that targets you or permanent you control, but it's kind of nice because you basically just want to protect Medomai as much as possible, so it's kind of good there, and it draws you a card. Absorb counters a spell and gains you life. Pretty self-explanatory. Insidious Will does multiple things, but it's best in this deck for countering or redirecting opponent's spells. And I'll talk about that third ability here in a minute. Stifle and Tail's End. These two come in very handy in certain situations, countering activated or triggered abilities that are scary. And Tail's End can counter an opponent's commander. That's just rude. Annoy. If your friends haven't disowned you yet from all the counterspells and such, let's annoy them even further. Polymorphous Jest turns all their creatures into 1/1 frogs that don't do anything. They will just love you for that. Dovin, Hand of Control. Make them pay extra for spells and prevent some damage from something. Guafa Hazid, Profiteer, and Law Mage's Binding. Just keep their creatures from attacking or blocking, because money is greater than either of those things, I guess. Kefnet's Last Word. Just straight up steal one of their things, and then copy Kefnet's Last Word with Insidious Will and steal something else. That's just rude, right? Alright, and here's where the Sigiled Starfish comes in handy. Metamorphic Alteration. Here's where the people start to hate me. See that shiny brand new Phyrexian Vorinclex that my buddy just played? Now it's a starfish. And now you can scry. Look at that. Hey, it's a win-win for everyone. You can scry now. Vorinclex can't scry you anything. Now you just have deck advantage. So I'm such a generous guy, aren't I? Or I could use it to copy one of my things to, another Spark Double or something of that nature. Or Time Stream Navigator. Target removal. Self-explanatory section here. Kind of just want to protect yourself and your stuff, which isn't very much, so you want to do as much as you can to protect it. Immolating Glare and Leadership Vacuum. These two spells are great, but they are conditional. Immolating Glare is based on something attacking, and Leadership Vacuum only applies to commanders, but they are very good in a lot of situations. Plus, Leadership Vacuum draws you an extra card. Always good. Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares, and Mangara of Karandor. Let's exile stuff for super cheap. And a couple drawbacks, but nothing too serious, usually. Oof. I don't mind exiling my own 1/1 in exchange for that with Mangara. Board wipes. Every good deck needs some sort of board wipe ability. Maybe 4 to 5 spells, I think, is pretty standard. Slaughter the Strong and Time Wipe. These two are great, and they protect Medomai, returning him to your hand or just not killing him with Slaughter the Strong. Crush of Tentacles. Need to return all things to the owner's hand and have an 8/8 octopus? Look no further than Crush of Tentacles. But make sure you cast something cheap before, if you can, to get that tentacly boy. Urza's Ruinous Blast and Play of the Game. You best know what you're doing when you cast these, because all of everyone's stuff is just gone forever. And if it's very one-sided for a scary player, you might be able to ask for assistance with Play of the Game to even the odds. Hey there, you just want to, pay just a couple. I just need 2 mana. Just 2 mana to cast the spell, and I can take care of Jimmy over there. And our last section, bonus. Here's just some extra stuff you can have, but it's not that necessary. These are just nice to have in the deck, and I just like these spells. Medomai's Prophecy gives a small bonus and a small advantage, but it's mostly there for the flavor. It's the only card with Medomai on it other than Medomai the Ageless. It has to go in the deck. Scroll Rack. Just so good. It just makes sure you have a relatively fresh hand every now and again, and it can really give you a nice head start too. Verity Circle. Someone usually has something that taps for something other than mana, and the extra card draw can be very nice. Plus, you can just force tap something to guarantee that extra card draw. And here's our Teferi Timebender. No one likes Teferi, but at least it's not that Teferi. This one is far less threatening, but it's kind of nice for untaps and draws. And that extra turn ultimate, if you see what I'm saying. But honestly, I've got Nyambi in there to tutor out her dad. Just, because if it's later in the game and I just need some life and to draw 2 cards, I will just cast Teferi, because sometimes that's just all I need is card advantage and some extra life. Here's my lands. Not much to mention here other than Rogue's Passage. You can give Medomai unblockable if need be, and there's some other lands. And I do indeed have all Theros Beyond Death full art lands, because I'm flavorful like that, and I really like them. And tokens. Here are the tokens you'll need for the deck, so you don't have to use your friend's tokens or your friend's dice, or ask your friends for, time to sleep on the couch, or some extra food, or, a place to stay for, a month or 2 or 4. 8/8 Octopus, Copy Clones, and the City's Blessing, if you really want that one. It's just nice to show off your City's Blessing bling.
Isn't this such a shenanigan deck? I absolutely love it. I feel bad playing it, because if I start going off and I get tons of extra turns and it just takes forever, and then it's not fun for anybody else except me. But, I think it's fun anyway. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and please like, comment, subscribe, and be sure to ring that bell so you don't miss any episodes, which come out every single Thursday, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Be there, or be the shape of this card, which is a rectangle, which is kind of like a square. you'll see where I'm going with that. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys.